Next up, we are going to hear from Snehal Lohar. She is an engineering leader and a quality director with a very broad background, and she's going to talk to us about thriving in the era of relentless change, which I definitely need. So, thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Can you hear all? Can you hear me? No. I think the blue microphone works better. Now? Now this is better? All right. We just had lunch, I know. Like after lunch, any session is kind of little, it may make you, I don't make you fall asleep. So I just have one quick exercise. I want everyone to get up. Just to make sure that we are like jiggly, we have some energy, we are on our feet. Awesome. Thank you. I do see some backbenchers there. Awesome. That was just in a quick exercise. I know we've been sitting for first half, and we just had lunch. So please go. Please take a seat. Thank you. We have had lots of AI talks today already, and this is another AI talk. But I'll try to keep it a little strategic. And I'm not going to show you any technical demos. I think we have seen a really good talks this morning. Like we saw cursor in the play. We saw how we can play with the ChatGPT, not ChatGPT, but the different LLMs and whatnot. I am going to talk about rising in this AI tsunami. I know this name sounds pretty dramatic because I did want it to add an effect. So this is intentional. Because there is so much of change that is happening, right? It's the scale, the pace. Everyone is talking about AI. Everyone is talking about the new tool. Everyone's talking like, hey, did you try this model? Did you try this and that? So it kind of gets, I don't know about you all, but it gets overwhelming. It does feel like, where do I really start? If I am the new one, or if I'm leading a team, where do I really get my team started on, right? So it kind of gets, just to kind of hold it back and to understand the broader picture and just step back a little bit so that we can strategically see the big picture. So the change is really not new. We have always seen, like I think someone brought it up earlier too, like 10 years ago, the automation was a change, right? We were all like, oh my God, from manual testers role, now we are changing our roles to automation testers. And this whole industry took a very swift change, and then everyone was automating. And then we had bunch of tools, automation tools also coming up, not just in a web automation, but mobile automation. And then the cloud came, and then we had this whole thing. Now, how do we test my, all the services on my AWS and my Azure and whatnot, right? So that's why I wanted to keep this name a little dramatic, just to kind of add a little pinch to it. My today's talk, and I'm trying to click on it. Okay, yeah. My today's talk is kind of, I've kind of divided into 4 areas. I intentionally don't want to spend, now after going through first half, I realized that we probably don't need to understand a whole lot of scale and pace. So I'm going to very lightly touch upon the state of AI and disruption, but my focus for today is much more on the last 2, which is how do we thrive in this era and how do we really navigate across all the changes. Just one quick question, how many of you are here a leader or an influencer in an organization? Awesome, that's a good number, that's a great number. But before that, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. This is the first time I'm speaking at InnovateQA. So I believe there are few folks who've been repeated. I think this is the second year for them, right? So it's amazing to see this community happening here, and it's amazing to see these kind of gatherings. I'm Snehal Lohar. I've been quality champion for 20 years now. Lived in 3 different countries in the last 15 years. I've been really fortunate to try different hats throughout my quality engineering journey. I've been into software development, product, business, and then forming the teams and whatnot. So I feel my happy place is when I deliver the excellence, and the quality is embedded part of it. Why should we even have a QA or QE as a separate, right? It should be so much embedded, and it should be involved from the time when we are writing the first line of the code. That's what that's what the mantra that I try to kind of push into my teams. I work in my current role. I am Director of Quality Engineering at Slalom. If you don't know about Slalom, Slalom is a professional services company. They're actually headquarters here in Seattle. But I am from Vancouver, Canada. I think they were asking who's from Canada, so that was me. I actually lead the quality discipline in Vancouver, Canada. We have a nice team there. I also run few initiatives for Slalom, quality engineering. That is, we are trying to, obviously, being in a consulting company, we are trying to stay ahead of how and what we could do in AI and GenAI space. And we call it as this is an accelerated engineering, because essentially it is an accelerated engineering. We are now doing things much faster, much quicker. We are reducing our cost and being more efficient, right? So that's me. In my free time, crocheting, hiking, cleaning. I love cleaning. I don't know. Cleaning is so meditative to me. Books, and my newfound love is gardening. It's very beautiful in Vancouver, so that's me. All right, let's get in. We have already known the scale of AI, how it's growing. The number of businesses using AI has already jumped up to 270-100%. It's a huge percent. I mean, every other company wants to introduce AI into their workflows in some way or the other, right? 1 in 3 organizations are already doing that. And it is said that by end of this decade, we'll have a 15 trillion of businesses, that of revenue that would be added to the economy. But AI is really not new. I think we all kind of know this is a third wave of AI. This is where we have had first 2 waves, and right, if you know Alan Turing's test, way back, right? So that was the first wave. Then we had in 70s the second wave, and this is our third wave. This is a third wave where we are actually thinking this transformation is taking a bigger picture. So the transformation, when it happens, it is happening across, right? Not just in a how we use Copilot or Cursor to create a new code, but there's also a transformation happening where how can we create GenAI systems? So there are 2 streams, right? One is using GenAI for testing, and one is testing the GenAI systems. So they're like 2 different streams, right? In either case, like our test pyramid concept is vastly changing. We have had, I think, Ben showed test pyramid earlier, right? Where we have this unit test, integration test, contract test, and then journey test sitting above. So throughout the process, there are so many tools coming in. And this is just a one quick glance on how tools are kind of spread across. And this is not just in generating the code. We are also talking about releasing the code. We are also talking about managing the code. We are also talking about how do I read my logs and get analytics, and how can I feed it to my Power BI reports. So all kinds of applied at all layers. And obviously that creates a FOMO, right? There are some companies, so being in consulting, this is also interesting. So when I go talk to CTOs and CEOs, and they say like, oh, we want to include AI into our workflow. I was like, okay, why do you want to include that, right? So having that conversation, they just want to kind of sometimes get into that bandwagon. It's like, oh, no, everyone's using, our competitor is using, our sister company is using. So yes, we have to get in. So it's important to understand, or even to educate and to learn, to transform them, like, hey, why are you even doing this? So in front of, with that FOMO, it also adds into like the use cases. Like what use cases do we want to kind of use AI at what levels? Like, right from analyze. So we just recently worked on a system. This was an agentic AI workflow system where we had a requirement document. And from that requirement document, we had this agentic AI workflow, which will actually spit out the Jira stories. So it was all together, it will digest everything, and then it will create a Jira stories, and further flow, it will actually create the test cases for you as well. So it's across all the layers that is happening. So this is where, like, of course, this is happening across. So how do we really address it? How do we really put our arms around it? So I like to see it in the 3 dimensions: people, process, and technology. If you look at an organization perspective, these 3 key dimensions are very important for anything to deliver, right? When we talk about people, is our teams who are going to be actually working to get this AI systems out, or to even work with our AI tools. So a lot of like transition that are happening, it is all dependent on our people and their upskilling and their skills levels and what the skills gap that we will be able to address. The next is process. So adopting AI isn't just about plugging the new tool, right? It is about it's how do we reimagine how we work? Our ways of working are already changing. Our agile sprints are already changing. Our development teams are writing code so faster, our test teams are not being able to catch up. That's a very recent problem that I'm seeing right now in one of my projects. And also, towards the end, we have a technology piece. That's the bigger piece where we are using how do we really test for GenAI systems? What are the tool sets that are going to come in? And what are the technological challenges that we might have in the future? So before even adoption, if we were kind of just take a little step back and try to see that what are the practical challenges we see today? I mean, I want you all to imagine in your organizations right now, if you were to kind of raise, hey, I've just heard this tool cursor from this InnovateQA and I want to use this. So you all go to your, whoever is your director, supervisors, and they're like, hey, how do we make a case of it, right? Sometimes, obviously, there's a free tier, but I think in previous, one of the speakers just said, like, don't use free tier. Like, if you want to get the most of it, you probably want to get the professional or the version that you will buy. So all those technology pieces work with process, work with people. So these are like 3 different pieces. You cannot move in one piece just far and not move in the other 2 pieces, right? So let's look at the practical challenges. Obviously, change is hard. So we are a creature of habits, right? Including our team and entire organization. So when we are talking about the real world challenges, this is again spread across people, process, and technology. Starting with people, one of the biggest hurdles is a skills gap. Teams may not yet have a knowledge and confidence to work on the tools. There's a cultural resistance, especially fear of a job security. I think we all share that anxiety somewhere, right? It's not uncommon for a team members to feel unsure or hesitant. Like, I don't know, everyone says it, but probably I'll let them figure out first and then I'll jump on that. So there's a lot of like layers for people to even jump on these processes. When it comes to process, it's a lack of clear AI strategy. So some of the organizations feel the pressure to jump on, as I mentioned earlier, but without a clear roadmap or a measurable insights or goals, the excitement is just, it's a waste of efforts. Then we talk about technology. I think data is a center of it, right? Data is a fuel for AI, and if your organization has a poor data standards or fragmented access, or you have some legacy systems, or you have some monolithic systems that are working since 10, 20 years, and it's like, it goes by principle, hey, if it's working, don't touch it, kind of scenarios, then it's really an uphill climb. So let's kind of see how or what can we do. Now we have seen the challenges, right? What can we really practically do in our capacity to actually change it and adopt not just an AI or Gen AI, but also prepare ourselves to work for the systems where essentially the product companies will create their own Gen AI workflows, right? So I'm going to start with adopt AI into organization as people. I don't know if that's small font for the people in the back. Sorry for that, but I'll try to kind of give a voiceover. So of course, these are not the only ways that are going to get in, right? But I just want to highlight key people-focused aspects. To begin, we as a leader need to revisit the drawing board. Like if you have some teams, or you are even a team member, it is important to raise that voice. How do we show up, or how do we have a training or upskilling program? So a lot of companies, like, I don't know, and I would love to hear this later on as well. How are you upskilling? Do you have a career path already developed? Do you have any list of courses to go through for the people? Like, this is you should go and just read it and do it on your pace, and then, or do you have a hackathon teams running? Or do you have some breaks in the agile? Because a lot of times there's an agile delivery, there's a velocity that is expected out of you, but now you also have to get on AI and get these tools and get the experience of this. How do you manage this, right? There's a whole lot of it. Unless you have the blessing from the top level, we won't be able to really spend time on it. So upskilling isn't just obviously offering courses, but is also experimentation. I think the experimentation piece was, I think it was Ben earlier who also highlighted. It's important to experiment. And again, how to get a time and whatnot. We have had this small group of folks who've been evaluating GenAI tools from about, the first tool we evaluated was probably a year ago. Because clients comes to us asking, hey, we want to automate these test cases and we want to use GenAI, and sometimes it's a very hard truth to hear that they want to get rid of the QA team. And they just want to kind of implement this all GenAI, and how do we really do it? So that time you need that kind of an education to a client, or education to your even senior leaders. It's not a flip of a switch. It's not going to be like you just feed in and it's going to generate all the scripts and it's all going to work and it's all going to be golden, right? For that, you do need to kind of have a leveled, different levels of game plan. So when it comes to the upskilling, again, as I think we touched upon, the culture, right? Culture of having that learning and experimentation is going to be super important. And sometimes it's also leaders like us, or the people who are in the system, very very deep. It's important to have them go experiment. It's important to pick the right people and pull them out of the team and go experiment, do these things. And sometimes it's not possible, but then that's kind of that's a cultural thing that we should focus on. All right. So I kind of talked about reskilling. We kind of talked about. I kind of hinted on, but I think I didn't mention this. The AI first mindset. I think. When we were doing automation, there was a time where, automation mindset. Now it's a new term like AI mindset. Like everyone is trying to think, I want to have this AI mindset, especially for the senior leaders and whatnot. We want to think a little differently. So in order to do that, there is an example, obviously, use Copilot. There's a free version of it. Use some innovation days. I have seen a lot of companies have this innovation days, that those are pulled outside of your sprint, so that those are, so the teams could actually work on the brainstorm ideas and just go wild and create something. And then, obviously, our roles are evolving as per the process, because we are no longer just a QAs or tester or manual or automation tester. We are somehow slowly expected to know these things and how the LLM works. How am I going to test the LLMs? Do I bring another LLM to test another LLM? What are hallucinations? How do we handle hallucinations and whatnot? So this all kind of things are coming at a very larger speed. So that's where our roles are also evolving. So I would say, like, bring in that reskilling plan, upskilling plan, and have that mindset. And I think I've given some examples on how we could do that. There's one quick detour I want to take on a people slide. I think you probably must have seen this. If you have not, this is a technology adoption lifecycle. For any technology transformation have happened so far, we have seen this happen. Where the beginning of the wave or the beginning of the curve is the innovators. These are my 2.5 to 3% of people in my organization who are super enthusiastic about the change, who wants to always try the new things. And then they don't need convincing. There are times where you do need people convincing, right? Then comes our early adopters. Early adopters is like, okay, hey, let's check out this tool or check out this article that I've learned. I think that will be useful. Then we have an early majority, then late majority, and then laggards. So it is important as a leaders to identify who my innovators are and who my early adopters are. So I can pull the team out from those people and form a kind of a hackathon team, or maybe some projects where I can prove myself that, okay, these GenAI tools are out there. Because I think we also today have a booth from all the companies where they say, yes, we have GenAI capabilities, right? And some of the tool companies, when I gave an example of like a year ago when we were evaluating GenAI tools, a lot of companies claimed, we do all these things behind the scene and it's like just a flip of a switch. But when it was only after we realized that after evaluation that a lot of companies aren't there, because we are all evolving together, right? And But it took an experimentation, it took that learning, and that's why we could figure it out. And again, 6 months ago, if I was revisiting one of the tools that I did it a year ago, they were already so sophisticated. They were already catching the game. So that's the thing, like, we cannot be just relying on what happened past 6 months ago. We have to kind of keep relevant, and that's why the tools are coming up with these use cases where these tools could be really used and in our workflow, in day-to-day workflow, will be useful. Now, let's go to process. All right. So for process, I think if we imagine like, oh, my people are innovators and they're all excited about GenAI tools, they're all kind of doing all these great things, but if we don't have a process related to that, it's not going to work, right? And that's where this piece becomes important. For an organization, it is going to be important to have a maturity model, AI maturity model. And again, I'm referring this to from an angle of a product-based companies, right? I'm a small to medium product-based companies. I think we've already heard this many times. AI isn't here to replace us, right? But it definitely is here to elevate our capabilities. And to make this happen, we definitely need a maturity model. And we as a QA/QE, we always like to measure things, right? So it's important for us to have that maturity model against which we could go and evaluate our progress. I think the executive sponsorship is always very important, but with this all hype, I think executives are really, in fact, already ready for this transformation. So that sometimes it's not a problem. But success doesn't really rely on the top, right? We do need AI literate mid-level leaders. Not just a team of innovators, but we also need the leaders, mid-level leaders who are very close to teams, processes, and pain points. And these leaders must move beyond the setting goals. It's like, I cannot just have a team of 5 and, explore this tool. But if I don't know behind the scenes what's happening or how this tool could be reused into my overall high-level workflow in my organization, then I'm not actually doing a good job being at a mid-level leader. So yeah, the things like maturity model, AI literacy for leaders, infuse AI across life cycle, and continuous learning, it's going to be a super crucial for how it's going to attend the people, and then now how it will complement the process part of it. Again, I'm going to take a quick detour and show you the maturity model example. So this is the maturity model that Slalom uses to consult our clients. At level 1, there is no AI involvement, as you could see. Level 2 is introducing the individual augmentation, right? This is where we are talking about using co-pilots and whatnot. And then level 3, this is where the role-based integration comes. Now devs are starting to use co-pilot to generate the code, right? And it's also becoming a part of defined roles and workflows. For level 4, it's a collaborative enhancement. This is where human and AI systems work together more fluidly. And level 5, this is where it's a kind of a dreamland, where we have a hybrid agentic workflows. And as you could see, naturally, as you progress through these levels, your competitive advantage increases. So if you were to look at yourself like, I am the CEO of this company, how would I want my company to work or to be there in next 3 months down the line, right? And it's important to kind of visualize what are the key KPIs, what are my ROIs are going to look like. And that's why it's important to actually adhere or at least have some maturity model. Not just because, oh, this tool is cool, and someone really says that this tool is really cool, and it worked for them, but does it really work for my workflows? Does it work for my processes? All right. Am I going too fast? I know I speak fast. All right, the technology piece. Now that's the last piece. Obviously, technology really brings the AI adoption to life, right? Once we have the right people, processes in place, it's the tools and frameworks that will make the magic happen. We're already seeing the wave of AI-powered solutions, making the tangible impact across the SDLC. So take an AI-powered development tool like GitHub Copilot or Code Whisperer. They're already helping developers. I think today also we saw like how quickly we saw the code getting generated, right? So it's important to kind of have those kind of tools handy and explore those. On a testing front, again, we have a bunch of tools. So I'm not going to go, and I'm not here to kind of advise, oh, this tool is great, that tool is great. I think everything has a potential and it's worth experimenting with. And then, of course, CI/CD and DevOps space. I'm being told that I have last 5 minutes, so I'm going to kind of go to the next slide. With the technology, people, process, how the real-world adoption could look like, right? This is where roles of all our people, all our teams are changing. I have product owners right now who are already using our internal agentic workflow to create the user stories. So it's a majority of their task is already being automated. They are reading from the contract, what does the client want, and now I'm just going to take that. We have developed that AI workflow systems that is going to actually spit out. But again, having said that, it doesn't really take out my job completely. I have to review it. So human in loop is going to be super important, and I cannot totally trust it, right? Then obviously we have developers, SDETs, and across all the roles, when the job is changing, when our tool set is changing, at org level too, at an organization level too, there is a blessing, and a lot of AI mindset or clear AI strategy needs to be in place. Just real quick, what to watch for. I know there are a bunch of things that to watch for. I think some of them were also touched upon in the previous talks. But zero trust policy. You cannot trust the output generated by AI just right then and then, right? Especially if it's a security, compliance, anything related to government, anything related to health, very critical systems, you cannot completely trust the system. Then talking about the multi-agent system, like AI talking to AI. So in agentic workflow, as you already know, there's a task given to agent, and now that agent outputs another agent. So I think someone was saying, if there's a 10-step process, how do we really trust that AI effed up at a level 5, right? So it's important to kind of make sure that there is enough explainability and enough logging system that happens. And of course, there's a legal and compliance. We're not even going to go there, but it's super important. Towards the end, I'm just going to touch upon this, and I think this deserves a kind of a talk on itself. We are all about, when it comes to leading the quality engineering efforts, it all comes about metrics. What are the reports are we tracking? And with AI systems in place, our reports are also changing. Like we are already kind of started tracking cost savings in testing. That's another metrics, right? We have also already started seeing dev to test effort. As I gave an example, like devs are starting to use code generation tools, but test, we are probably a little lagged behind. So the dev to test ratio, it becomes an important metrics. Ultimately, whatever metrics that you and your organization believe that are important, they will come to 3 important criteria. Either is efficiency, is it giving me a greater efficiency? Is it giving me a cost reduction? And is it making me a better product as an organization? How am I doing on the time? Too? Okay. And with that, I want to take this quick slide on a final takeaways. Whenever you are in the conversation in a team or a leaders, always ask the question, why? Why are we doing this? Is it just because someone says it's important? Is it someone says like the sister company is doing or my competitor company is doing? So why are we doing this? And of course, I think embracing the change, we are all embracing, and that's why probably we have such a such a nice turnaround for InnovateQA here. Be a practice leader. If you are in a position where you can influence the decision, lead those teams. Be a practice leader. It's no longer a time that, oh, I'm a leader, so I'm not going to code, I'm not going to test this, I'm not going to try this. We got to do this because our roles are evolving, and we got to change ourselves, and we ourselves need to be a practice leader. Empower teams to build the future, and I think it also goes back to talking from operational to strategic. So we have to step back and being strategic about overall full transformation. And keep measuring and learning, and of course, here, AI is here to augment and not replace. With that, I will kind of end it, and I'll open it for Q&A. I think there's a feedback, and then I have my LinkedIn here. I'll love to connect with you all. Any questions? I know it is a large and big important topic, but again, it was pretty high level. It needs people itself and process itself and technology itself is like a big chunks. But anything on a transformation, if you have a transformation journey, I would love to kind of connect with you as well to learn how you all did it.
Thank you. Thank you for your talk. Have you noticed any AI-specific changes adopting AI tools in compared to any other new tools?
Sorry, can you be a little louder?
Have you noticed any AI-specific challenges adopting AI tools in compared to any other new tools?
Yes. So
What are the
as I was mentioning earlier, that we did a really long exercise of evaluating the GenAI tools, and we did obviously go through and try to see if whatever they're claiming, is it true or not, by creating some 2 weeks of time and 2 weeks of team. The general theme there was like, whatever they were claiming, let's say, you feed us test cases, we will create test scripts for you. So when we really tried to do that, the scripts that were created, they were not of quality. If you're an SDET, and if I ask you like, hey, write a script for this application in Python, you have a historical knowledge. You have done this and whatnot, right? So there were definitely a lot of rework that was needed. There was a lot of maintenance that was needed. But again, as I said, like the tools are evolving themselves as well. So you have to kind of keep experimenting and keep trying. The challenge was definitely like, hey, can we really trust this? And there were some times, like we have some clients who have a strict policy that they cannot use GenAI. You cannot use Copilot ready code in any of the repositories. So there were times where we will, okay, but we could do this, we will be faster, you want to deliver this in a month, this will be possible. But there are always, like, I feel technical challenges can be solved, but non-technical challenges are bigger, and they kind of hold you back.
Snehal, I remember that during your research, we used to work together.
Yes.
During your research, you came across companies that claim to provide AI tools, AI platforms. Do you have any tips or advices on how we can actually steer clear from companies that claim, but their claims do not raise to the expectation?
Yeah, so whenever the vendors would reach out, these companies would reach out, we would ask for demo. And in demo, obviously, we are asking the questions. And of course, there are a lot of times sales pitchy. Like, hey, we can do this, we can do that. But then asking a deeper question is like, hey, what model are you using? How do I do the API testing? Tell me behind the scene. And I am, as a coder, I want to customize my code all the time, right? Of course, there's a power in low code, no code. But if any of the developers here, you want to have that superpower of customizing your code. And that doesn't really come up very quickly with these tools. But I understand, because it's their trademark application and their trademark secret. So sometimes it's very hard. But asking those questions, like, hey, tell me the behind the scenes, tell me what LLMs are you guys using and whatnot. That threw some of them off. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for your speech. And quick question. So you mentioned that there are quite a few metrics are changing with the world of AI. What are those metrics? Just like the one you mentioned, which was dev to QA workload ratio. Yeah.
So very recently, actually, I have had client asking me, hey, give me I want to make sure, as I think I was giving earlier an example, they have that's my actual right now client, who wants to reduce their QA team. And they're asking like, hey, my dev to test ratio can be higher, but can you make sure that, how can you tell me that whatever code we are generating with your AI systems, how can we make sure that still kind of, this is a financial application, so how can we make sure this is also still adhere to all the guidelines and all kinds of policies and whatnot. So it is very use case specific. Again, it goes back to organization and what really matters to me. If I am an e-commerce application, maybe then my MTTR is always going to be up, right? My uptime is going to be one of my important metrics. So I think it also depends use case to use case. But recently I've seen dev to QA ratio just to satisfy the case of, hey, I can probably take this piece out, or maybe not completely out, but maybe I can use them somewhere else in the organization. Yeah. Am I?
Hey, Snehal. So is there any one, since you have worked with so many AI tools, so is there any one-stop shop from AI tool perspective for QA? And if yes, then which is the most efficient AI tool you would suggest in terms of QA?
That's a tricky question. There's no such tool, but I think it's, again, use case specific. I know there are some companies out there here, right? They're also there, and they are addressing specific use cases. I think if you are into that particular domain and that's what matters to you, again, it goes back to your ROI and KPIs. But I really liked using Cursor. I really liked using Code Whisperer. But again, it goes back to my automation test code creation. There's no such tool that I have come across, like you just feed in. But I think Playwright MCP is pretty promising. I actually am also using this use case where I have a problem where I have, from a client's 200K regression test cases, which are automation scripted in Selenium Java. And now I'm coming in like, hey, Playwright here is no brainer, let's use Playwright. But now I want to convert the Selenium Java to Playwright TypeScript. How do I make the quick transition, right? So again, this is a specific use case, so we will kind of reinvent our agentic workflow. More than a tool per se. I think it's what are you really looking for? I don't know if that answers.
Have you evaluated any tools that can handle a flaky test cases? And that flakiness can be due to product code and test code are not in sync, or there may be an issue with the test infra or a test environment.
So can you repeat the question, sorry?
So have you evaluated any AI tools that can handle a flakiness of a test cases?
Oh, for the test case creation? Flakiness.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's also, it's a generic problem, right? That it will create, I think there are a lot of tool companies that claim that, hey, our tests generated are not flaky, they're self-healing and whatnot. I am in still progress to kind of have one tool which is being my full stop, where I'll be able to kind of completely rely on that. I haven't seen any open source so far, but if you have, I would love to hear. Yes, yeah.
But if that flakiness is due to a test environment is low.
Oh yes, then we do have some infra CI/CD tools to make sure that the system is always up. Yeah. I don't know any particular tool in the infra pipeline, but I know my DevOps teams are using some. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so there is one or two. Okay, any more questions? Yeah.
Hi. Are there any, so we have so many tools in the market, and in my own company, there is a client who wants to get onboarded for AI tool, but are there any strategies around making the decision where we onboard one AI tool and over the year I find it to be less productive or useful? Now, how can I offboard it? Because people are so much dependent on it. So is the, in your experiences, are the companies also thinking about those aspects where, we are able to easily onboard and offboard? So are there anything taken in consideration?
So we recently did this for one of our clients. Of course, as again goes back to we are creature of habits, right? We get used to this tool and we feel like very personally attached to this tool because it just gets my job done the way I want it, right? I think the continuously measuring piece is very important, and sticking to our KPIs and is it giving me enough ROI? So even before launching this idea, it is important that we shouldn't be marrying any tool particularly. This is an experimental phase. So if we are trying some tool, and if it doesn't give us the expected outcome, what does that outcome look like, or what is the success criteria actually looks like? It's important to set that in the beginning. But if you have not already set it up, it's also not too late now. Like how it is not adding to your value today by using this tool, so we do need to offboard this tool. So I think that some homework around that area will help the convincing. And also I think whenever you're going for a convincing, I think you should also support for another option, right? So think about anything else or other strategy that would actually help you to help that client, because client ultimately is looking for, oh, I need these values fulfilled. And if this is not doing, then what is the other tool that is going to help me? Not just you coming and telling me like, hey, let's offboard this tool, but hey, what's my option, right? So it's going to be important to have that conversation. Again, reports and data never lies. So data is going to, all the metadata around it is going to help you form that strategy. Thank you. Very good? I think he had one last.
Thank you for the great presentation. So with people, process, technology on people, in a situation where you have testers, some of them are manual, others are automation, but they're not AI savvy. The process is very stringent in terms of meeting the client's expectations and releases that are time-bound. And the technology is changing rapidly, right? The AI landscape, we have so many tools. Some of them, most of them actually are still evolving. How do you balance the three? And two, what would you say are the quick wins from the management standpoint?
Yeah, I think we are in the good transformation phase where AI is such a hype that all our senior leaders or SLT members are already kind of trying to infuse AI into their workflows. So we already got that blessing. A lot of times that blessing is a problem. It's the first big step that to cross, right? If we have that blessing, I think it's a matter of taking some key members out of their day-to-day job and create a use case that what will be, again, valuable. Again, those three things that I showed, right? What is going to be the most efficient? What is going to, if you are a product company, what is going to make my product more efficient, better product, and cost reduce? So if you come up with some use cases, brainstorm them, and prioritize and take one use case, a top priority use case, and now have this team deployed in a hackathon style, let them work for a week, and come up with this, with a demoable version. I think today, as much as we see, if we see something, we're already convinced, right? So you will need some help from your senior leaders, like, hey, I need to pull this person, I need to apply these processes, and I need to run with this technology. So create that low-hanging 1 week worth of work and showcase. And again, it might be very possible that after 1 week, you're nowhere. But hey, you have found and you have experimented, and that kind of will be a fuel to your next experiment. So I know these conversations are very easier said than done. In reality, there is a lot of hurdle, but that's why that blessing from the top level is going to be super important. And in this case, in AI hype, we already are kind of 50% won that thing. So yeah, putting some team together and experimenting, I don't think there's an extra way. It's not fair to ask people to put extra hours and go work on this on your Saturday, Sundays. That's not going to be the solution. And some people do that. I mean, some innovators, my early 2.5 people, I have people who are working on weekends and created this demoable version, agentic AI workflow, which is like astonishing to see the demos of, right? So you got to find the right team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I have a round of applause for Snehal?